Right, this is Lady Lexi K, and this is a dreams tutorial. I've had a request, how do you chop down a tree like you do for survival games for collecting resources? I can show you this. It's a little bit long to be putting into a Dr. Lex video, so I thought I might make it a full video instead. There is a lot of complexity in this sort of game. I'm only going to show you the cutting down the tree part. In order to make a survival game, you've got crafting and all sorts of things. So it gets quite complicated quite quickly. But I'm going to show you just the tree chopping part. So I've chosen a tree and a tree stump from the Welcome Garden pack. And I've created a variable called wood, which I've put in a microchip. And that's all I've done so far. And also added an axe to my puppet's hand. So I scoped into his hand here. So he's got an axe there. So now we're going to create an animation for our puppet. So let's create a timeline. And we're going to make a keyframe of the chopping motion. So I'm going to lift that up there. And our next move is that. I'm not particularly good at animating, I will say. It's not the technique. I know how to do it. I'm just not particularly good at it. There we go. There's that one. And there's that one. So let's just put a blend in. We need to repeat that. And we need to repeat that one as well. Okay, what do we get? That's not too bad. Let's speed that up a bit. Put them closer together. Obviously, you can spend some time getting a really nice chopping motion going. I'm trying to do this really quickly. Now, here's a technique. If you've got a loop, if this is the same as this keyframe and you want it to loop round, you trim the end like that so that this keyframe isn't part of the loop, and it will just, as if it will be, it will go straight to that, so you should get it nice and smooth. Yeah, okay, let's loop. Go. There we go. There's our chopping action. It's not the best chopping action, I will grant you that. But anyway, there we go. There's our chopping action for our puppet. Okay, so let's name that. So we keep naming things. It makes it easier to find things later on if you get used to naming your stuff. Right. Now, do we the thing is here, do we want our puppet to always have the axe in his hand? Or only when he's chopping? I'm going to say no, we don't. So I'm going to put in a keyframe here. And that's the whole of the thing. We need to scope in a little bit. Let's just, right. Whoops. Oh, God. Right. Let's get rid of that keyframe. Right. We need to scope into just that. There we go. That's better. Right. Pop in a keyframe. There we go. So you want to make it visible. I'll record that. There we go. So that's made it visible when chopping. And now we want to make it invisible. And we don't want it to collide with anything. Now, so it's not actually going to chop anything. So we don't need it to hit anything. So I'm going to make it non-collidable by default. And there we go. So we can see it. And we only want this to be activated. So when it's not activated, there we go. It's the puppet is just normal. Let's just straighten his hand out there. There we go. Right. Okay, so tree now. We're going to create a collectible thing for this stump. So I'm going to need a microchip, which let's make sure it's not attached to anything. All right, we're going to stamp that to tree stump. And I'm going to put a tag in there. Now this is, I have done tutorials before on collectibles, and there's various different methods. This is the one that I've settled on. So you put a tag in called collectible, like that. And when that is activated, when there's an output to it, we are going to do two things. We are going to modify the wood by adding 1 to it. And we're going to destroy the stump. So when you walk into this, it's going to destroy the stump. Now the way it does that is in the puppet logic. You just put in a trigger zone that's looking for collectible, and we make sure that that is relatively small. That's about right, I think. There we go. So that's our detection for picking up those tree stumps once they are active. Right, so there we go. So there's our tree stump. And there's a detection to pick up the tree stumps. So let's just try that out. So his chopping motion is constantly going. Anyway, let's see. There we go. That's collected the wood. So we need to be able to see that the wood collection. So I'm going to add a number displayer to our variable, like so. Let's move that over here. And we'll put in a text displayer that says wood. And we'll just move that a bit. There we go. Right, so now let's try. It should, when we pick up the wood, say 1. There we go. We picked up the wood. It now says wood 1. So that works. Right. Okay. So we've got a stump that we want to collect. Here's the tree we want to chop. So we've got our animation here. We need to be able to see it. So let's do that. There we go. Right, now we need a microchip on this tree. Okay. And we need some sort of detection. Now, we could put all of the chopping motion and everything into this tree. That might be a way of doing it, so let's try that. So we're gonna put in a tag called tree, and when the player detects the tag called tree, and we'll put another detection zone in here, so we'll just copy that, and this time we're looking for tree. There we go. So when this is detected, we want to show some instructions. So I'm going to use triangle. There we go, chop. And we're going to put this in the world. And there we go, that'll do fine. And we want the detection zone to be a little bit bigger for the chopping of the tree, and we want it to be in front of him like that, so he'll chop the tree from there. Okay, so here is our timeline. And we want this text display. Actually, let's put it in here. When it's detected the tree, we then want him to press that triangle button. So let's go into the controller logic here. So when that is active and he presses the triangle button, so we're going to need an AND gate. So triangle button. Oh no, come on. There we go. So when he presses the triangle button while detecting this tree, then we're going to change state. We're now going to be chopping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a counter, and I'm going to call it chopping. And we're going to say we're chopping when he presses the triangle button, and then we want him to do some chopping. So let's have a look and see what that does. Chop, press triangle, there we go, he's doing some chopping. And he'll just continue to chop around like that. So let's come away. Right. So now we want a timer to say how long we want him to chop for. So this timer, we're going to start the timer. We're going to say it'll chop for 5 seconds. And then that will reset that timer, and that will turn off the chopping. So when this is finished, I'm going to set up another one, and this one I'm going to say cut down or cut tree. There we are. That's what happens. So timer finished. We've now cut down the tree. And when we've cut down the tree, we then want an emitter. And we're going to emit, I don't know, 2. We're going to have 2. And we don't want it going too fast. So that, like that. And that's what we're going to emit. And we're going to emit it there, like that. Okay. So when we've done that, we're going to emit, when we've cut down the tree, we're going to emit some stumps. Now, we want to destroy this tree after we've created the stumps. Now, there is a problem though, where because we're going to emit a couple of things here. One frame's not going to, we're only going to get 1 stump. We want 2 stumps. So what we're going to need to do is create a keyframe that is going to make our tree invisible. And that happens straight away, same time as the emitter. And then I'm going to put in another little timer here. And we're going to say after a minute, we're then going to destroy this entire thing. There we go. So what should happen is if we go over to the tree, chop, it says. Chop. Chop. There we go. It's created. Whoa! That went a bit mad. So maybe that's a bit fast. Sorry about the cut there. I'm having a bit of problem with the emitter. So let's try it again. We've got an emitter here. This is going to be turned on when we've cut down the tree. So we're going to emit this. I want it to emit sort of over there like that. And I want 3 of them. Like that. We don't want it to go too far. Okay. So let's see what that does. Go over, chop our tree. As you can see, the wood all lands on top of each other. Which we don't really want that to do that. So what I'm going to do is take an action recorder, go into the emitter here. I'm going to grab that emitter. And I'm going to do that. I'll wire that to the power. Right, let's see what that does now. There we go. And now we've got 3 pieces of wood, which is exactly what I want. And I can go and collect the wood. And we're done. There we go. Perfect. Right, so we just need to finesse this a little bit. So we need some sound effects. That always makes things a lot better. So let's go into modes. Sound mode. Search for sound effects. Here is some chopping sounds. So let's see, what does that sound like? we'll just put it in 3 times like that. There we go. So that's our chopping. And at the moment we've got a wire coming from our player. Now this is all fine if there's only one tree, but if I want to copy lots of trees, it would mean that I would have to go in and wire, because every time you copy a microchip, it cuts all the wires that are coming out of it, and this is the only wire we have. So let's make this wireless instead. So we'll put in a wireless receiver here, and we'll put in a transmitter over here. So we'll put the transmitter from the triangle into our transmitter. We'll call it chop, and in our receiver we'll change that to the whole scene, make it easy for ourselves, and then pop that into A and delete that wire. So now hopefully there we go. And now we can copy our tree, put it over here, put it over here, and now let's go to a different tree. And there we go, it's produced wood. And we can go to this tree. And it's produced some more wood. There we go. There we go. And you can do exactly the same principle with stones or plants or anything else that you want to do. You can also finesse this, get him so that he's looking at the tree and all sorts of things, to make this a lot better than I've done it. This is just a rough principle. That's what I do with most of these tutorials. It's rough principles for you to then finesse a bit later on. So I hope that was useful. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.